The mansion gate swung open, and Amara's heart stopped. There, standing in the doorway of the sprawling GRA estate in Enugu, wearing an expensive agbada and gold watch, was her husband. Her dead husband, Chidi. The man she'd buried 7 years ago. The man she'd mourned. The man whose memory had kept her sending $400 every month to his mother while she and their daughter ate gari and groundnut for dinner. Amara? His face went pale as ash. Her knees buckled. The world tilted. 7-year-old Zara gripped her hand tighter. Mummy, why does that man look like Daddy in the pictures? Behind Chidi, a woman appeared, pregnant, with 2 small children clinging to her wrapper. Behind them stood Mama, Chidi's mother, the woman Amara had sacrificed everything for. The woman whose comfort had cost Amara 7 years of her life. Mama's eyes weren't shocked. They were guilty. You knew, Amara whispered, her voice breaking. All this time you knew he was alive? The world Amara had built on grief and duty shattered like glass at her feet. Hello guys. Welcome to my African Tales. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe and share it with your friends, and most important thing, turn your notification bell so you can get informed when I dropped another amazing story. Drop your thoughts and reactions in the comments. What would you do if your spouse tried to kill you and you survive? Will you take a revenge or disappear forever? 7 years earlier, the smell of antiseptic and death filled the emergency ward at Lagos University Teaching Hospital. Amara clutched Chidi's hand, her wedding ring pressing into his palm as machines beeped frantically around them. The accident was severe, the doctor had said. Internal bleeding. We've done all we can. Now, at 28 years old, Amara was about to become a widow with a 6-month-old baby girl sleeping in her sister's arms in the waiting room. Amara. Chidi's voice was barely a whisper. Blood stained the corner of his mouth. His body was broken from the Okada accident on I-Corridor Road, a motorcycle collision that had thrown him into an oncoming Danfo bus. Don't speak, my love. Save your strength. Tears streamed down her face. My mother, he gasped. Promise me, take care of her. She has no one else. Promise me, Amara. His mother had been widowed young, had sold everything to send Chidi to university. She'd given him life twice, he always said. I promise, Amara sobbed. I swear it on everything. Chidi's eyes closed. The machine flatlined. And Amara's world ended. The funeral in their hometown of Enugu was massive. The entire community came. Mama wailed so loudly they heard her 3 compounds away. She collapsed on the casket, screaming about losing her only son, her reason for living. Amara held her, this woman who'd become her mother too. I won't leave you alone, Mama. I promise, Chidi. After the burial, Amara returned to Lagos with baby Zara. Her teaching job at a private primary school in Ikeja paid 85,000 Nigerian nairas monthly, barely $180. But she'd made a sacred promise. Every month, on the 15th, Amara sent $400 to Mama through Western Union. It was half her salary. The rest went to rent for their single room in Mushin, Zara's needs, food, and transport. Sister Amara, you're looking thin, her colleague Ngozi said one afternoon in the staff room. Are you eating well? Amara smiled weakly. I'm fine. But she wasn't fine. Breakfast was tea and bread. Lunch was whatever the school provided. Dinner was often gari, groundnut, and sugar if they were lucky. Zara's clothes came from Katangwa Market, second-hand and faded. Amara's own shoes had holes she covered with cardboard. Meanwhile, during their quarterly phone calls, Mama's voice grew stronger, happier. Amara, my daughter. Thank you. The money helps so much. I've fixed the leaking roof. I bought a new gas cooker. The church people no longer pity me. It made the hunger worth it. Amara was honoring her husband's memory, keeping her sacred promise. Year after year, the money went out. $400 on the 15th, like clockwork. Amara's savings account stayed at zero. When Zara needed books for school, Amara borrowed from colleagues. When she herself fell sick with malaria, she treated it with agbo herbs from the local chemist instead of going to the hospital. Mummy, Why don't we have a TV like on Ngozi? 6-year-old Zara asked one evening. We have something better, my love. We have each other. And we have honor. We keep our promises. By the 7th year, Amara had sent over $33,000 to Mama. Money she'd scraped from a salary that barely sustained them. Money earned through extra lessons, weekend tutoring, and skipped meals. Then came the message that changed everything. Mama's phone isn't going through, Amara told her sister Adana during a video call. It's been 2 weeks. I'm worried. When last did you visit her? Amara's face fell. Not since the funeral. I can't afford the transport to Enugu. Amara, 7 years and you haven't visited? What if something has happened to her? Guilt crashed over Amara like a wave. What kind of daughter-in-law was she? Sending money, but never visiting? She broke her savings box, Nigerian Naira 47,000 she'd been saving for Zara's school fees. It would cover transport for both of them to Enugu and back. We're going to see your grandmother, she told Zara, her heart light for the first time in months. Finally, she'd embrace Mama, see her smile, feel appreciated for the sacrifice. The 14-hour bus journey from Lagos to Enugu was exhausting, but Amara's heart sang. She imagined Mama's joy, her gratitude. Maybe they'd cook together, and Mama would tell Zara stories about her father's childhood. They arrived at the old family compound in Abakpa on a humid Saturday afternoon. The compound where Chidi had grown up, where his father was buried, where Amara had been welcomed as a bride. But the gate was locked, padlocked. Weeds grew tall in the yard. Amara's stomach dropped. Hello? Mama? She knocked, then pounded. Mama, it's Amara? Silence. Mummy, is Grandma sleeping? Zara asked. An elderly neighbor emerged from the next compound, squinting at them. You're looking for Mama Chidi?
Yes.
I'm her daughter-in-law. Where is she? The woman's face showed surprise. You don't know? She moved from here 3 years ago. Said this place was too small for her. She built a big house in GRA and relocated there. The words hit Amara like a slap. GRA, Government Reserved Area, where the wealthy lived, where governors and businessmen built mansions. That can't be right, Amara stammered. Mama doesn't have that kind of money. The neighbor shrugged. Well, she does now. The house is near Independence Layout. Very fine house with a big gate and flowers. I visited once. She even has a generator and satellite dish. Amara's mind spun. The $400 monthly payments for 7 years. Had she been funding this mansion? While she and Zara lived in one room. Can you direct me to the house? The neighbor gave detailed directions, eyeing Amara's faded dress and worn bag with something like pity. As they trekked toward the wealthy neighborhood, Amara's confusion turned to unease, then to anger. Each step past sprawling estates and luxury cars felt like a betrayal of the poverty she'd endured. Finally, they stood before a towering gate with intricate ironwork. Through the bars, Amara saw a 2-story building painted cream and gold, a manicured lawn, a fountain, and 2 expensive cars parked in the driveway. Her hands trembled as she pressed the bell. A security guard appeared. Yes? Who are you looking for? I'm here to see Mama. I'm her daughter-in-law, Amara. His eyebrows rose. Madam didn't mention expecting visitors. She doesn't know I'm coming. Please, we've traveled from Lagos. He spoke into a radio, listened, then reluctantly opened the gate. Wait in the parlor. The compound was even more stunning up close. Roses lined the walkway. The fountain sparkled. Amara's worn slippers shuffled across Italian tiles as they entered a living room that could fit her entire Mushin apartment 5 times over. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling. Leather sofas. A plasma TV the size of a table. Air conditioning that made Zara gasp with delight. Mummy, it's so cold, Zara whispered, touching everything in wonder. Amara couldn't speak. Her eyes burned. This was what her $400 monthly had built. While she'd eaten once a day. While Zara wore torn uniforms. Footsteps descended the marble staircase. Mama appeared, wearing an expensive Ankara gown and gold jewelry that caught the light. Her face, when she saw Amara, went through shock, fear, and then a forced smile. Amara, I wasn't expecting you. Clearly. Amara's voice was ice. Grandma. Zara ran forward for a hug, but Mama's embrace was stiff, distracted. Why didn't you tell me you'd moved? Amara asked quietly. I wanted to surprise you. I was going to invite you when everything was ready. Everything is ready, Mama. It's been ready. For years, apparently. Amara gestured at the opulence. How long have you lived here? About 3 years. 3 years of lying. 3 years of letting Amara believe she was helping a struggling widow, while Mama lived like royalty. The money I send, the $400 every month, is this where it goes? Mama's face hardened. You think this is all from your money? I have other sources. What sources? You told me you had nothing. You said. I built this house with my sweat. Mama snapped. Yes, your money helped, but... Helped? Amara's voice rose. Zara pressed against her side, frightened. I starved to send you that money. My daughter wears rags. We live in one room with rats and we share a bathroom with 10 other families. And you're here living like a millionaire. Lower your voice in my house. Mama's eyes flashed. I didn't force you to send anything. You made that choice. Because you let me believe you needed it. You let me think I was honoring my husband's dying wish. And you were. Chitty would want his mother comfortable. The words hung between them, sharp and bitter. Amara's hands shook with rage and betrayal and something else, a creeping suspicion that there was more to this story. Who paid for all of this? She demanded. Even with the money I sent, how did you afford a mansion in GRA? A single teacher's salary couldn't. A door opened upstairs. Footsteps. Heavy male footsteps. Mama's face went white. Who else is here? Amara asked, her heart beginning to pound.
No one.
Just the housekeeper. But the footsteps were coming down the stairs. Amara turned. And her world stopped. The man descending the staircase wore expensive clothes and gold jewelry. He was older, fuller, but the face was unmistakable. Chitty. Her husband. Her dead husband.
Alive.
Amara's scream died in her throat. No sound came out. Her lungs forgot how to breathe. Chitty froze on the stairs, his face draining of all color. Amara. No. The word came out broken.
No. You're dead.
I buried you.
I.
Zara's small voice pierced through the nightmare. Mummy, why does that man look like Daddy? Because it was Daddy.
Alive.
Standing there. Not a ghost. Real. Solid. Breathing. Amara, let me explain. Chitty started down the stairs. Don't come near me. Her voice returned as a roar. Don't you dare come near me. Another woman appeared at the top of the stairs. Younger, beautiful, very pregnant. 2 small children peeked from behind her, maybe 4 and 5 years old. Children who looked exactly like Chitty. Amara's legs gave out. She collapsed onto the leather sofa, her body shaking violently. Who is this woman? The pregnant woman demanded, coming down the stairs. Chitty, who is she? I'm his wife. Amara screamed. I'm the woman who mourned him for 7 years. I'm the fool who sent money to his mother while believing he was dead. The woman's face showed shock, then anger toward Chitty. You said you were never married. You said. You lied to her too? Amara laughed, a horrible broken sound. Of course you did. You're good at that. Mama tried to speak. Amara, if you would just listen. You knew. Amara rounded on her, fury burning through the shock. All this time. Every month I sent that money, every phone call where I asked if you were okay, every sacrifice I made. You knew your son was alive. It's not what you think. Then what is it? Amara was on her feet again, shaking with rage. Tell me. Make it make sense. My husband faked his death. How? The accident, the hospital, the body, the funeral. I held his hand while he died. I watched them lower a casket into the ground. Chitty finally spoke, his voice hoarse. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. What wasn't? Your fake death? Your escape? Your new family? She gestured at the pregnant woman and children. How long have you been planning this? Amara, please, answer me. The room rang with her scream. Even Zara had never heard her mother like this. Chitty sank onto a chair, his head in his hands. When he looked up, there was shame in his eyes, but no remorse. I wanted out. I was young when we married. I felt trapped. The pregnancy, the expectations, the responsibility. I couldn't breathe. Each word was a knife. Amara stood frozen, bleeding from wounds she couldn't see. The accident was real at first, he continued. I was injured, badly. But while recovering, I met someone. Grace. He glanced at the pregnant woman. She made me feel alive again.
Free.
And I realized I didn't want to go back to my old life. So you just what? Faked your death. The doctor who treated me was Grace's cousin. He helped. We paid the morgue attendant to substitute another body, an unclaimed corpse. The family was so distraught during the funeral, no one looked too closely at the casket. Amara remembered now how they'd closed the casket quickly, citing the condition of the body. How Mama had wailed so loudly that no one could think straight. It had all been theater. And the death certificate? Her voice was hollow now, all the fight draining out. Forged. It cost money, but... He trailed off. But Mama's monthly payments funded it. The pieces clicked together in Amara's mind. That's why you needed her to keep sending money. To maintain the lie. To support your new life. Mama finally found her voice. He's my son, Amara. My only child. What was I supposed to do? Tell me the truth. Amara spun on her. Let me move on with my life instead of chaining me to a ghost. Do you know what you stole from me? 7 years. 7 years of my youth, of Zara's childhood. 7 years of poverty and sacrifice for a lie. I'm sorry, Mama whispered, but her eyes were defiant. But I chose my son. And he chose himself. Amara looked at Chitty, really looked at him. The man she'd loved was gone if he'd ever existed. In his place was a coward. A stranger. Zara tugged her mother's dress. Mummy, I don't understand. Is that man my daddy? The innocence in that question broke something in Amara. Her baby girl, who'd grown up staring at photos of a dead hero, was now looking at a living fraud. No, my love, Amara said softly, pulling Zara close. Your daddy died 7 years ago. This is just someone who looks like him. Chitty flinched. Grace, the other woman, spoke up. Look, this is clearly a mess, but Chitty and I have a life together now. We have children. We're planning to marry properly next month. Whatever happened before? Whatever happened before? Amara's laugh was sharp. He's still legally married to me. He's still Zara's father. You can't just erase that because it's inconvenient. The death certificate, Grace started, is fake, which makes this whole thing fraud. Bigamy. Insurance fraud, if he collected anything. Identity fraud. Amara's mind was clearing, the shock giving way to cold calculation. Chitty stood up. Amara, please. Don't do anything rash. Think of Zara. Now you think of Zara? After abandoning her for 7 years? I'll pay you. I'll compensate you for everything. The offer was an insult. You think this is about money? Isn't it? Mama snapped. You're angry about the money.
Fine.
We'll return it. Every naira. But leave my son alone. Amara stared at this woman she'd sacrificed for, this woman who'd called her daughter while bleeding her dry. You're right, she said quietly. It's not about the money anymore. She pulled out her phone. What are you doing? Chitty asked nervously. What I should have done the moment I saw you breathing. She dialed 3 digits. Police? I need to report a fraud. The police station in Enugu was crowded and hot, but Amara barely noticed. She sat straight-backed on a hard wooden bench, Zara asleep with her head in her lap, while officers questioned Chitty and Mama in separate rooms. Madam, you sure say you get evidence? The officer had asked when she first arrived, skeptical. She'd shown him everything. 7 years of bank transfer receipts. The death certificate. Her marriage certificate. Photos of the funeral. Text messages and emails to Mama. Phone records. I sent $33,600 over 7 years to a woman whose son was alive. She knew he was alive. She helped him fake his death. That's fraud, officer. Criminal fraud. The officer's skepticism had turned to shock as he reviewed the documents. Jesus Christ. This one bad. Nah proper criminal case be this. Now, 3 hours later, Amara watched as they led Chitty out in handcuffs. He looked smaller somehow, diminished. When his eyes met hers, she felt nothing. The love had died 7 years ago. She'd just been mourning a ghost of it. Mama came out next, also in handcuffs, still defiant. You're destroying your own daughter's family. What kind of woman are you? The kind who teaches her daughter that fraud and betrayal have consequences, Amara replied calmly. Grace had been questioned but released. She genuinely believed Chitty was unmarried. She'd left hours ago with her children, her life also shattered. Madame Amara, the lead investigator, Inspector Okafor, called her into his office. This case is very serious. Beyond the fraud, there's identity fraud, falsification of documents, conspiracy, and potential bigamy charges if he was planning to marry that other woman. He and his mother could face several years in prison. Good, Amara said simply. But there's another matter. Inspector Okafor pulled out a ledger. We've been investigating his business dealings. Your husband has been running several successful businesses here in Enugu, 2 hotels, a transport company, and a real estate firm. Everything registered under a false name, of course. Amara's eyes widened. How much are we talking about? Assets worth approximately 450 million Nigerian nairas. About $300,000. The number hung in the air. While she'd starved, he'd been building an empire. As his legal wife, with proof that the death was faked, you have a legitimate claim to marital assets, Inspector Okafor continued. I'd advise you to get a lawyer immediately. That night, in a small hotel room paid for by her cousin in Enugu, Amara held Zara and finally cried. Not for Chitty. He deserved nothing from her. Not even for the lost years, though they ached. She cried for the woman she'd been, the woman who'd believed in promises and honor and sacrifice. And then, when the tears dried, she planned. 6 months later, Amara stood in front of her new business, Zara's Hope Educational Center, and smiled. The Learning Center occupied a modest building in Acacia, with bright classrooms, computers, and books. It offered free tutoring for children from low-income families. The lawsuit had been swift. With evidence of the fraud, Chitty's lawyers had pushed for a settlement to avoid lengthy prison time. Amara had walked away with 200 million Nigerian nairas in assets, compensation for the money sent, and full custody of Zara with no visitation rights for Chitty unless Zara chose otherwise when she was older. Chitty and Mama had each served 3 months in prison, less than they deserved, but enough to destroy their reputations. The community in Enugu had turned on them. Mama's church had expelled her. The mansion was sold to pay legal fees and restitution. Mummy, look, Zara called from inside, where she was helping arrange books. At 7, she was resilient, her child's mind adapting to the truth about her father with remarkable ease. I organized them by color. Amara joined her daughter, marveling at how different their lives were now. They lived in a comfortable 3-bedroom apartment. Zara attended a good school. They ate 3 meals a day, sometimes 4. But more than the material comfort, Amara had found something she'd lost 7 years ago, herself. Sister Amara, Ngozi, her former colleague, arrived with a group of women, teachers, mothers, community members. We brought supplies for the center. Books, pencils, and... She held up a banner. Grand opening, empowering women, educating children. You didn't have to do this, Amara said, touched. You survived the impossible and turned it into something beautiful, Ngozi replied. That deserves to be celebrated. As the community gathered for the opening ceremony, Amara gave a short speech. She didn't mention Chitty or Mama by name, but everyone knew the story. It had been in all the local papers. I learned that sacrifice without wisdom is just suffering, she told the crowd. I learned that keeping promises to the dead shouldn't destroy the living. Most importantly, I learned that even when someone tries to bury you, you can choose to grow. The center opened to applause. 20 children enrolled the first week, all from struggling families. Amara taught them herself, drawing from the pain that had made her strong. One evening, as she locked up the center, her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello. Amara, it's me. Chitty's voice, tentative. I know I have no right to call. I wanted to say I'm sorry. Truly sorry. What I did was unforgivable. Amara looked at the center, at the life she'd built from ashes. You're right. It was unforgivable. But I'm not carrying that burden anymore. I'm not carrying you. I've moved on, Chitty. I suggest you do the same. Can I ever see Zara? That's her choice to make when she's older. Right now, she has everything she needs. She hung up and blocked the number. Walking home through Lagos's busy streets, Amara held her head high. The girl who'd sent money, while starving, was gone. The widow who'd mourned a ghost was gone. In their place was a woman who'd learned the hardest lesson. Sometimes the dead bury themselves, and the living must choose to rise. At home, Zara was doing homework at their dining table, a real dining table, not a mat on the floor. Mummy, can we have ice cream after dinner? Yes, my love. We can have ice cream. Such a simple thing, ice cream. But it tasted like victory. That night, as Zara slept in her own room with her own bed, Amara sat on her balcony and looked at the Lagos skyline. Somewhere out there in Enugu, Chitty was living with his choices. Mama was living with hers. And here in Lagos, Amara was finally living with freedom. She'd sent her last $400 payment 7 months ago. She'd never send another. The debt was paid, not to Mama, not to Chitty, not to a promise extracted from grief. The debt was paid to herself. And she was finally, gloriously free.